Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Wherever you are in the world, welcome back to The Caring Economy with me, Toby Usnik. Today, I'm honored to have my longtime friend, Edris Nicholls here. Idris is, in my mind, the sort of the stylist to the stars, the hairstylist to the stars, and tech gurus and business elite. She's a native from St. Vincent, but she's been in New York for decades. We'll talk a little bit about that. We won't necessarily reveal all the names of all of her top clients, but Edris Nicholls, welcome to The Caring Economy.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be part of the caring
Economy.
economy.
You are. You pay it forward every day. That's part of the reason I'm thrilled to have you, because your heart is filled with joy.
Thank
and
you.
You're so hardworking. So, Edris, I always like to open up by asking my guests on The Caring Economy to tell us a little bit about their personal journey. How did you not only get here now into having a successful salon business, but along the way you had hard knocks and pivots like we all do, and you turned left when you could have gone right, or when one group of people was going one way and you went the other. So how did Edris Nicholls get here today?
Edris Nicholls got here today because of a lot of amazing women who raised her. I was raised by women in the Caribbean.
Okay.
In the Caribbean, women have to be strong.
And you're from the
I'm
Grenadines.
from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but women had to be strong. I was raised by a really strong grandmother who was brilliant. She fought for us. She fed us, fought for us, and made sure that since she was raising us, my mom was here in America, and she was a nanny working for a family in the Dakota.
Oh, wow.
So when I came here from my Caribbean,
So
yes.
for our listeners that don't know New York, the Dakota, of course, John.
Yes, I came the
John,
month before he passed away.
Yeah.
I was in that building.
Where John Lennon was assassinated.
Yes, and so my mom worked for a family there, and they put me to school in the Caribbean.
Wow.
Yes, they paid for my school and my education. When I came, my mom left because she needed more security for us. And so yes, I came here. But these women were amazing. Women just give women a chance, and they will raise a amazing generation of people.
Yeah, we hear this and we see this in civil society groups, that if you empower a woman, sociologically, they're just more likely to take people along in their journey with them. I don't think that's always a fair summary, because men can do the same, but women have a better track record.
Black women are in the Caribbean, black women in Africa, black women around the world. We raise community of women.
Tell us more about that.
Because they can rely on their men. It's very hard to rely historically. You can rely on men. So basically, women have done the job of both being a mom. My grandmother was my mother, my grandmother, and my father. And before she passed, she told me that I would live to be 100.
Wow.
And I said, I don't necessarily want that gift, but she said, you're going to be, because you're carrying on the generation.
Wow.
And so, yeah.
And is that where the work ethic comes from as well for you personally, or do you want to speak more broadly about
the work ethic? Came from my grandmother, and the women who raised me. I was able to take my grandmother back to the Caribbean when I had my first job as a successful freelance worker, and took her back to Barbados with me, then to St. Vincent, and said, thank you for raising me.
Wow.
And I also was able to go back and thank my teachers, because I thought those were important people in my life. And I had to make that journey. Even if they were past, I went to their graveside and said, thank you for being there for me, because I was a different kind of kid. I was always kind of different. And different meant in the sense that we didn't know what that was, but I was eccentric.
Right. Well, tell us a little bit more about that, because I think many of us feel sometimes that we're on the outside looking in life. So for our younger listeners in particular who are figuring out their career journeys, probably about your age, how old were you when you came to the States?
I was 15 years old.
All right,
I came also, I was British educated, because in the Caribbean it's a British education. So then I was put back because I was too young. So I was 15, I should have been in the 12th grade. They put me into the 10th grade.
Wow.
And then I had to work my way up. And then I knew I was graduating without knowing that I was graduating, because I kept going every day. I went down to the guidance counselor and said, I'm in the wrong class. I've learned this stuff already. But because in America, they go with your age, not with what you know.
Right.
So it's a whole different system.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're arriving in the States probably a little bit younger than some of our listeners who are at university now, but words of wisdom for them, because many of my listeners are tuning in because they want a purpose-driven career, a purposeful life as you've led and continue to lead. any sort of words of wisdom for them about how to do that, or what to tune into and what to tune out?
Because today it's kind of a little different, but I mean, for me, with young people, I love young people, and I feel that if you're going to whatever you pursue, you must enjoy and love it.
Mhm.
Also, if you're going to pursue a career, you have to learn as much as you can about it. You need knowledge.
Mhm.
Knowledge is a power, and you have to have that knowledge.
Mhm.
You have to put the time in. You can't
Mhm.
just walk out the door and then expect to become the owner of the business.
Right.
You have to make sure that you put the time in. You have to, it should be 24/7.
Mhm.
I know most people are not working that way these days, but it has to be 24/7. You have to live it,
Yes.
eat it, breathe it, and give birth to it.
Well
That's
said.
that's how it happens.
So I think we're probably like-minded in thinking that there really aren't shortcuts.
There aren't many shortcuts. You're lucky, luck, like the
Mhm.
lotto.
Mhm.
You know,
Yes.
a dollar and a dream.
Not the best investment, though.
No. Exactly. You know, so it's like it's about that. You have to really put the time in.
Yeah, my former colleague Sally Sussman, who we've had here on the Caring Economy, she once said to me, and I don't think she was the first to use this expression, but I like it. I'll repeat it here: the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah, and you also other people looking. It's like I went into like a CVS a couple of years ago,
Uh-huh.
and I went to buy something for my son. We need like something for the baby,
Mhm.
and I walked in and I said, "Do you know where this product is in the store?" And she looked at me and goes, "No." And I looked at her, I said, "You work here." I said, "You could be the manager." I said, "And those cameras behind you, I said, someone is paying attention to what you're doing." I said, because if they're looking to see that you're hardworking and you really love what you do, you can manage this whole place. I said,
Yep.
don't you want to run this store?
Yes.
And then maybe some executive walk in and then they take you to the next level. I said, walk around this store with me because you need to know this store. I made her walk the whole store with me. And she goes, at the end, she said, thank you. I said, because you could run this and run the corporate.
Right. Well done. That another thing we like to talk about here on the Caring Economy. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we have Edris Nicholls with us today. She is a very successful hairstylist to decades of leaders in business and society. When you took that young lady around the CVS, which is a pharmacy chain here in New York area, it's all about mentorship, right?
Yep.
It was a very quick speed dating kind of mentor, but you were really giving her great advice. And she took it well.
She took it well. I'm always like that, though. If I see something going on that needs to be fixed, I will do it.
Yeah.
You know.
So I wonder how that plays out in your business. But let's first cut to a break, and then we'll come back. So again, ladies and gentlemen, today on the Caring Economy, we have my friend and colleague Edris Nicholls, who is a very successful hairstylist to countless generations of not just New Yorkers, but leaders from around the world, business and social alike. Edris, when you are in the salon in the moment with your clients, who you can name names if you want, I don't want to out anyone, so to speak, but there's a real trust. There's a trust I've never seen in most businesses between the client and the employee, right?
Yeah.
And that's your moment to influence and guide people in a compassionate way and in a thoughtful way. And you've done that throughout your career. Is that a fair observation?
It's a fair. So for me, being behind a chair or in front of behind the camera, wherever I'm working, freelancing or being in a salon, you have to have trust between you and the client. I'm no holds bar. I speak about everything. They're not supposed to be religion, politics, whatever. But something for me, that's not a true friendship. You can figure out where people are coming from and you can guide them along, or you can listen and you can agree to disagree. My thing is that I am willing to talk about anything. I'm not afraid of that. So I'm open. I'm an open book. But the one thing I will do is I keep the secrets of my clients.
How do you keep them?
I keep the secrets of my clients who are
celebrities. Oh, in your mind. You don't write them in a little dirty book or something.
No, and I'm never going to talk to a PR person about something or tabloids or whatever. People have called me for information about people, but they trust me not to ever do that.
Correct.
Yes.
Well, as I write in the Caring Economy, I do believe that there is a spectrum of caring, right? People are somewhere on that spectrum. Businesses are on that spectrum. It's not my role, my responsibility, or necessarily my joy to tell someone they're wrong or right, but to the contrary, I like to meet them where they are on that spectrum, and then hopefully move them further along to a more responsible,
and it works better
empathetic
that
place.
way anyway.
Oh,
it
completely.
works so much better, because my thing is that you can have a vast disagreement in politics or whatever, but at the end of the day, my thing is like, you're an American. You can be a Democrat, a Republican, independent, or whatever.
Yes.
But the idea for me is that we should be able to have a conversation. Why are we thinking and having the thoughts that we're having? Right. And so, like I said to you before, I had a client in my chair. She voted for Trump. I knew she did. But we've been having this great conversation for the last 4 years. I still like her. We talk to each other every week. She checks in on me during the week. She cares, but she's in this weird way. She's this amazing, smart woman. But I still don't understand how she can look at Trump as being this person.
Right. So you want to understand, which is an empathetic place to be.
So we agree to disagree on whatever, but at the end of the day, it's like, I think she's coming around.
And you trust the dialogue and you value that, which is, I think, what, to your point, that's what this country's built on.
You have to respect her voice. I respect her voice.
Right. And have civil discourse.
But I think as a progressive liberal, I think we are like that a lot of times. And I think most people are not willing, when you're very conservative, a lot of times you're not able to listen to other people's voices. But I think progressive people have always listened to other people's voices, and because this doesn't move, the pendulum doesn't move unless you're listening to other people's voices.
So I want to challenge you on that a little bit with regard to how you're raising your son. But before that, when you're talking about the salon, your clients, and we've had this tumultuous year with Breonna Taylor and George Floyd and Black Lives Matter and COVID, and it goes on and on. All these, we're all being challenged. I know you lost a couple of family members to COVID, for which I'm sorry. How do you process that and help us as a society move forward from your little chair in your little studio?
So
do you go there? Do you talk about it?
The chair is a big, being a salon. Salons have always been a place. We are essential workers. The salon's always been a place. We were considered essential workers at the turn of the century. So salons are a place where people talk. We touch someone's head and they let go of everything. My thing is like when I put my hands like my grandmother did in people's hair, because she actually on the weekends, every Friday, she would do people's hair in the house.
Is that where you got it?
Hair. Yes, I loved adults. I never hung out with kids. So I would hang out with the people and listen to all those conversations. So I got the idea of this salon being a place of conversation. When I had my salon, the brick and mortar salon, I created a space for women to walk in, introduce people to each other. It was a connecting place for me. And I still do that now.
Yes.
I connect all my clients. If you're out of work, if you need support, I connect people to each other.
Yes.
That's the aim for me, is to make the salon a place that the Harlem Renaissance was about. It's about connection. And
you do it in a way that's so effortless. It really is it's a gift you have. And I almost feel like I'm seeing it passed out from your grandmother to your mom and you.
It's the same thing with my son. It's like how I do it with my son is that you have to raise a leader, and you have to, but it starts with him loving himself. He can't love himself unless I love myself.
Right.
And so I have to pass that through, and right now
Baz is exceptional. Or Barry, now he's becoming his young man. So he's no longer Baz, he's
5
Barry.
feet tall. And so you have to, he's going to be as tall as The Rock. He's going to be that tall. He's already 5 feet tall at 9 years old. So how do you raise a child who's going to be exceptionally tall?
Yes.
And to be a gracious,
and a mixed race child.
Race child. So when he's with me, he's Black. When he's with my wife, he's other. And so you have to. I'm walking a fine line.
Yes.
He knows now he's caramel. He goes, I am Black. And his Black Lives Matter is really interesting because he's been really pulling towards it.
Wow.
So he speaks on it on a level that, he goes, with the insurrection just happened, he said to me, he goes, it's like going into a restaurant and being rude to everybody and then expecting them to serve you.
Yes.
That was his take on it.
It's a good metaphor, right? So, I'm also reminded there when you're talking about the role of the salon for women, Black women and other, certainly the same for Black men, right? We've seen so many political campaigns make it a point to visit the barbershop, right? There are movies that are made about it.
Because
it is a place where it happens.
It's a Black church or a salon. It's one or the other.
So for business leaders who need or want to learn more about engaging and really taking to heart the whole Black Lives Matter moment, it's more than a moment, actually, for better or for worse. what tips might you have for, how do you listen? How do you listen better? How do you affect change?
Okay, so I feel like a little beaten up over the last couple of years. I feel like I've been in a very abusive relationship with the President of the United States. So right now I feel like I can breathe again.
Yes.
But we've been all of us in America have been in this space. And to me, it's kind of like you have to, it starts by when you walk down the street. And what I do is I guess I'm saying good morning to everyone. I've always said good morning.
You're recognizing their humanity.
If you stare at me for very long, you should say hello.
Right.
If you're white and you walk on the street and you see a black person, you're staring at a person.
Say hello.
Say hello. Yes. It starts by hello. We don't talk to each other.
Yes.
We don't acknowledge each other at
if
all.
we're not looking at our phones.
Thank you. And that's about, we need to look up.
Yes. And
we
each
miss
other
so
in
much.
the eyes. Yeah.
And I don't walk with my phone. I walk down the street and I'm open.
You're present.
And because you're present, what happens is that people will speak to you. And so I'm always having these conversations with people on the street, or people saying, hi, how are you? Or I say, I like how you look. I pay attention to how people look, what they're wearing. I mean, because I want to smile on my face. During COVID, because we're wearing masks, you need to not stare at people in a hole, not partial.
Yes.
And the eyes matter.
Big time, big time. So ladies and gentlemen, again, today on the Caring Economy, we have Edris Nicholls, who is a very successful hairstylist, salon person throughout the decades in New York, and just a real connector of a person. Edris, so again, looking in the eyes, acknowledging the other with quotation marks around it. How does that happen in, say, a big corporation? Does the CEO say, let's have a powwow, or, it's a tricky thing when you scale it up, or is it?
I think the CEO also has to come from that place.
That mindset.
They have to also be open. They have to be open and not just, because Black Lives Matter should not, in corporation to me right now, everybody's like putting up these logos,
flavor
or whatever.
Of the month, right.
And it's like, I feel, but what are you going to do moving forward? Are you going to keep doing it, or are you just doing it because you want your corporation not to be put on some kind of like watch list, right? Or be checked by Black Lives Matter. So my thing is like, you need to make sure that you're practicing empowerment of everyone every day in every facet of that corporation.
That I agree with. I also think that part of the reason I love having my guests on who are making decisions about business real time is to talk about these issues, because the George Floyd in particular hit me hard, and I want to not forget that. Right. I want to hold myself accountable and take people along with me. So that's why I'm one of the many reasons I'm grateful to have you here today.
So if you see a young Black person in your corporation, and you're not just, because the problem is that people walk by each other all the time in offices. They don't even pay attention because they're so busy or whatever. But if you see that, you should make an effort to seek out people of color,
diverse, BIPOC,
and Black people need to do the same. It should be reversed both ways, and in reverse the other way too. It can't be just one way.
Well, it's funny you say that. We have a recent guest has been Brian Bowles, who's from Johns Hopkins, and he was talking about a course that he's starting for mentoring. Teaching mentees how to be mentees.
Right, you have to.
Right, like it works both ways.
And
the young person who's being mentored needs to also remember and appreciate and reverse mentor.
The only way that this changes is that we have. That's my life in my salon has always been about diversity. My salon's always been diverse. As a Black-owned business, but my clients are not Black.
Not at all. I mean, I know
have
some
a lot more Jewish clients than I have
right.
Black clients. I have like 10% Black people, but most of my clients have been Jewish or white.
Yeah.
And they've trusted me with their hair. And we've had amazing conversations.
Yeah.
And I'm real. I speak real to them about what is going on. I don't mince words. Yeah. I hold them accountable for everything that comes out of their mouth and what I say.
Well, and you're in a relationship business. Your clients have been with you for decades, right? Because of that. I want to have a little fun with you here when I think about business people, whether it's fashion, tech, finance, without naming names, are there any sort of fun takeaways or summaries or stereotypes you might have for, like the Wall Streeters are always this way or can't put their phones down, or
no, because you can't do that, because people, so if someone comes from Wall Street, that means I have a client who's from Connecticut. He's basically he's a workaholic.
Yeah.
But when he comes to me, I say, put his phone down.
And he
I
welcomes
say, take
that.
a break.
Yeah.
And he respects that. He's one of my favorite people.
It. Yeah.
Because he will, and we talk. I said, I'm not going to cut your hair if you're going to just sit there on your phone. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
So I just walk away. And he's like, okay. And it happened.
It gets his attention fast.
Yeah, because I think you need a break.
Yes. So do you have, I'm reminded of some of the things you talked about earlier, Idris. Do you have any sort of tips for work-life balance for leaders who are trying to affect change?
What if the one thing that's amazing that COVID has taught us that we can't be running to everything? We don't need to be at everything.
Right.
For
the fear
now,
of missing out, FOMO.
Yes, we're not missing out. We realize we're not missing out anything. People who did not realize they can live without a haircut.
Right.
They can live without going to a restaurant. They can live without traveling to someplace, that they can actually form a community around them.
So
a solid community. Like we find all of us now have that community.
And that permission.
That's going to be able to raise us all up.
Yes. And you also have that permission to not rush.
Thank you.
And to be present. So, which is one of the silver linings of COVID. Have you had any other silver linings that come to mind? For example, I know that we have, I think for the better, enhanced digital literacy around the world. My stepfather, who's dying from cancer, is more digitally savvy now, and it's really welcome because he lives in Texas and I'm here in New York.
But think about it. I'm a Dolly Parton fan. Dolly has invested money into Moderna, right?
Yep.
The idea for me is that everybody needs to learn from Dolly Parton.
Amen.
Dolly Parton is think about it. Poverty, rise up, no hatred in her heart.
None.
And a beautiful person. Yes. And look, as young as hell.
And she stepped up on Black Lives Matter.
But I'm just saying, she has no
integrity.
Thank you. And what she says, she's never met a rhinestone she left unturned. And she wears a scarf that has hell and heaven. And when I went to a concert, she goes, this side's when I'm bad and this side's when I'm good. The idea for me is that we all have that in us. We just have to make sure that we just step into it.
Yes. Dolly Parton also had that famous line, it takes a lot of money to look this cheap.
Thank you. And it's amazing. So to me, the idea for me is that we all can be that.
Absolutely.
We choose to or not.
Yes, and bring it to a conscious level. So again, ladies and gentlemen, today on the Caring Economy, we have Edris Nicholls, who's a very successful hairstylist and salon owner in New York. And we'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to the Caring Economy, folks, with Edris Nicholls today. And I want to just ask you a couple of final thoughts, Edris. Have you had were there any aha moments in your life when you knew that there was only one way to go, which was what I would describe as responsible business person?
Yes, when I closed my business.
Oh, tell us more about
2019.
that. You declared success by closing a business.
Yes, because
that's amazing.
I decided that I needed to be me. I've mentored enough people because my business has always been diverse, diversity in everything. I've raised a lot of people, giving them their hands. So a lot of hairdressers out there. I opened the doors for a lot of people freelancing. I was the only person backstage a lot of time in the 80s. So I opened doors for all those future generation of people that came after me. And people said, thank you. Some not, but it's all right. But I realized—
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet, but in 2019, I decided to walk away from my brick and mortar business because I felt like my creativity was being stifled. Also, there was a lot of, I felt like my best friend had an aneurysm.
Okay, that's a real
her husband. So in March of that 2019, 2018, her husband passed away.
Is that our friend Rosie?
Yeah, her husband passed away. Then she realized, because we helped in transition. Then in June of that year, we went out to Arizona. She was having these headaches. Turned out she had an aneurysm. She could have died on the plane with us. Then at the end of that year, the salon I worked, the salon I owned, my colorist husband committed suicide.
Wow.
With those three events, I realized there's a gloom and a cloud above my head. In the Caribbean, we believe in that. It was time for me to walk away because it's telling me something about taking care of me. It was more about focusing on me.
So you could be more helpful to others.
Which now, hindsight, some ancestor or someone was protecting me.
Looking over you,
for this moment.
I wouldn't discount that.
Everybody who's working in the business that I'm working are now working the way that I am. But I had a
and not just your industry. I mean, it's happening everywhere. Again, with COVID, we're all being forced into new ways. But there's good with that as well.
To rethink how we do business, how we work, and the time we put into things.
And the purpose behind it, right? Like the community building.
Yeah.
One last thing I want to do is a shout out to our mutual friend, Carrie Chandler.
Come on, Carrie. Let's have you on here.
we both, coincidentally, we connected those dots. I worked with her at Christie. She was our head of HR. Now she's at Endeavor, and you've cut her hair through the years. And
She's an amazing woman.
She is.
She's if I'm any decision I have to make with business, I go to her first. Any letters I have to write, I go to her first.
So Edris Nicholls, thank you so much for joining us today on the Caring Economy. I'm going to let you have the last word in terms of responsible business practices, the spectrum of caring, the way forward. What do you say to both our major corporate executives and multinational firms who are listening in, as well as those young kids starting out in their career journey?
I think that we need everyone should read, to watch the Biden inauguration, watch everyone that was on that stage, listen to that young girl
Amanda,
who spoke,
yes, the
because
poet
Amanda
laureate.
Gorman. Also, we need to be able to make friendships, whether you're a corporate owner or working in a store. When you walk into any room, the first thing you say, you walk into that room, acknowledge everyone.
Look them in the eyes.
Doesn't matter if the person is like beneath you or above you, you look them in the eye and you say hello. That hello matters.
That's the beginning of everything.
And the one thing I take away from this COVID moment is the fact that I too could have passed away, at that moment. And I realized that my friendships matter. And the friendships that matter, I decide to work harder on them. And the ones that don't, I leave them alone.
It's beautiful. I also think that that's your legacy. And that's what you'll be remembered for. And it's part of the reason I love having on the Caring Economy today. So again, Edris Nicholls, thank you so much for joining us today.
This has been awesome.
Well, let's pay it forward, my friend.
Yes.